are in a state of emergency.
Prejudice. Wrote a song about it? Like to hear it? Here it go. Free your mind.
Gomane. Assemble the people, Gomane. We will not be defeated by witch doctors' illusions.
But let me preface my point with this story of Jeanette Salters, who renamed herself Mamalina Diop, and her sister who named herself Nzinga Jana. They inherited some land, acquired the land in Ghana, and was murdered by the locals. Why? Because they were Americans. A few of the natives didn't feel it was right that foreigners had a right to that land. So, to go back to Africa Negro,
You see these? You can't buy these nowhere except from one person who produces them. Shabazz. I got them. You can't go to no store, no bookstore, or nowhere and get none of these DVDs on the history of the Nation of Islam, on the assassination of Malcolm X. I got them and watched them all. Y'all don't know shit. You can't get these nowhere. I know all the information. You ain't seen these? You ain't seen these? You're lacking. When I tell you something, believe it. You ain't seen none of this. He ain't seen none of these. Fuck out of here.
Peace forever and always. I'm Soul Sister J. I'm Soul Sister D. And I just wanted to say thank you for all the people who helped to the medical fundraiser for my uncle Taalik. And it has meant so much to us that you would help, because without you guys, his life would not be possible and we would not be with him today right now. And I just wanted to say, for all of you that helped and that donated, I would really like to give a big thanks, and I hope that I can meet you one day and say thank you in person. I love you guys, and okay.
I ordered this book, God is on Trial. I ordered this book from Amazon, and I must say I've read it. It's very well written, very thought-provoking.
Hey, my brother, you know I had to call you and thank you personally again. I cannot describe to you how happy I was to meet you in person finally. That was just like amazing.
Set in Philadelphia, follow Camille Ebony as she discovers the woman she was meant to be in the blink of an eye, seemingly when her marriage, career, and life are rearranged, when a cool stranger enters the mix. She realizes for the first time in her life that she is able to throw caution to the wind and just be herself without any label or duties attached. All things must come to an end, though, and once again Camille finds herself taking on the requirements now of wife and mother. But when she is called upon to do one more favor, the journey to the heart of the matter continues, and she comes face to face with the realities of the girl she once was, the person she has wanted to be, and the woman she is. On the road to self-discovery, Camille soon realizes there must be some casualties.
Ellis becomes the first of the divas to offer the world her singular sound. And she does just that on Southern Gal.
anyway, you know, I'm done. So, you know, don't expect me to be on YouTube all the time, and you know, because none of you are helping me out. I have to go to work every day. I have to go to work, you know, to make money, and none of y'all are dropping me $5 or nothing in my Cash App or nothing. So don't expect me to come on here making videos all the time, because that's not gonna happen. Like I said, it takes a lot of energy to come on here and talk and make videos and put together, you know, presentations, you know, and you know, all of that take time and energy. You know, I mean, don't expect me to come on here talking and carrying on.
What, dear?
Because I keeps it real like that. I keeps it real.
Things that make you go, you know, these aren't jokes, these are thoughts, these are things that make you say.
I want to say this to our black children, African American children, Negro children, however you view yourself, the children of the descendants of slaves born in America. I mean no disrespect to nobody, but I have to speak harsh because this is the Reality's temple, and I have to bring a message to us in a real sense. I cannot la-di-da, I can't gloss over, I can't make things beautiful. I have to tell you things just the way they are. I lately have listened to a lot of videos speaking about black youth and how you are under attack and how you're so special and blase, blah, 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 blah. At one time, I was a black youth. What has my generation really done? And why didn't we do better? For generations, the black youth supposed to be this and that. The black youth gonna do what? What you gonna do? What we gonna do? I was a youth, a black youth. Your mother was a black youth. Your grandmother was a black youth. Your great-grandmother. All our people, at one time, all of us was the black youth. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? History has already shown what we gonna do. And clearly, you're looking at the situation, some things have been done, but it seems as though our condition is just as worse as it has ever been. A black youth, a black child. When I was a black youth, a black child in my teens, I did not know nothing. And you don't know nothing. So why is so much expected out of what the black youth gonna do? Black youth depend on their elders like anybody else. If you depend on these black youth, what kind of black youth do we see running around today? This is not all of us, but it's a nice chunk, because the majority of black youth don't give a care about black liberation. They do not care about the struggle. What do you see in black youth? You see a bunch of drunks, whoremongers, whores, pants sagging, thong in the backside, yellow and blue hair, bunch of dope fiends and worse. You don't get no emotion from the black youth until somebody is killed. Michael Brown. But then pretty soon, in less than a month, or in a little bit before the year is out, you will forget about Michael Brown, regardless to what the verdict, whether that police officer is going to be indicted or not. It makes no difference. You have forgotten Trayvon Martin already. Then the black youth, you blame your elders, but at the same time you forget that you cannot stay black youth forever. Pretty soon you are going to become a black elder. So when you become a black elder, what did you do and what are you doing now to make you different from the elders that you blaming your situation on right now? What will you do? What have black youth done? They talk about the black elders have not done this and the black elders have not done that. But what have you done? You've changed no law. You've done absolutely nothing in order to improve the condition. In fact, the reason why you are living as well as you're living right now, it is because you're doing it on the backs of some black elders. It is not my fault that we as a people can't get it together. Only a small handful of us strive and fight. And then the masses majority benefit and didn't do nothing at all, like some of y'all doing right now. Beyonce is Beyonce, Jay-Z is Jay-Z, and LeBron James, and all our people, all of you got these opportunities on the backs of those who are willing to die and suffer, but they don't care. What are the black youth doing? You have men like Farrakhan and Sharpton and Jackson. They should have set their butt down long time ago. But there is no black youth that's doing anything to take these men's place. And why is that? Youth means nothing when you have no brains. Youth means nothing when you have no plan, you have no goal. Youth means nothing when the only thing you want to do is live happy in your oppression. Youth equals life. But you follow the dead. You follow Jesus. You follow Muhammad. You follow Malcolm. You follow Garvey. You wasting your youth on the cemetery. There's an old saying, young men for war, old men for counsel. But as a black youth, we've chosen to follow the wrong elders. An elder must represent separation. If they're not talking about separation, then you should not be following them. You should not be following up behind somebody that's trying to integrate you into a society and a nation that put you in the condition that you're living in right now. So it is no shock that you have a Trayvon Martin. It is no shock that you have a Michael Brown. When you lay with dogs, you get fleas. There will be more Trayvon Martins. There will be more Michael Browns. It ain't stopped. This has been going on for 400 years. I'm going to say that again. This has been going on for 400 years, and you act like it's a surprise. How is it a surprise? You're living among immoral people. These are the children that killed and murdered your ancestors. You think they care anything about us? No. They just don't want you to get mad and demonstrate your black youth and follow the right elder. Because that elder will lead you to true freedom, justice, and equality. Not integration with your slave master and their children. So you're going to blame myself as an elder. You're going to blame the elders prior to myself and on down the line for the hell that you catch. But at the same time, you think you're going to stay a black youth forever. What you going to tell the little babies that's being born right now, and you are an elder to them right now, what are you going to tell them? We keep following dead folks that's been in the cemetery. I love Malcolm. I love Marcus Garvey, Nat Turner. I love all our freedom fighters. But the living or the dead cannot help the living. You got to use your brain. You mean to tell me your brain is less than Malcolm? Your brain is less than Elijah Muhammad? Our brain is less than Marcus Garvey, our brains is less than the Moors and the Egyptians. Our brains is less. But they was riding horses, and you drive a 2015 Cadillac. You're still begging for masa with all your education and all your money. You're still a professional beggar. What you gonna tell black youth when you become an elder? In fact, you are an elder right now. It's a black baby being born right now that's being put in the same position you are right now. So when they get of age and they look at you, what you gonna tell them? What you gonna do? What did you do? Now I'm still catching the same hell in 2045 because y'all didn't do nothing in 2014. So let us not be arrogant. Our problem is not our youth. Our youth is ready to battle. I will give you that. You're not as scared. You're not as scary. And you're not afraid of the oppressor. You're not afraid like your ancestors of the past who was afraid. You're willing to put yourself out there. What do you have to lose? But yet and still you follow up behind those who cannot guide you correctly because their minds is with dead folks. Their minds is trying to continue to live comfortable among those who brought you discomfort. Listen to your own brain. Stop listening to those who quote from dead folks. Old books, Bible, Quran, and all this quoting from all this stuff all the time. There's wisdom in all these old things. They can't help you none. Your brain is ready to give you the answer that you need. And actually, the elder that you complaining that's not here, they are here. You just ignore them because you're listening to those other elders who follow dead folks. Get yourself together. This is the beginning. If you can listen to me, just stay on that path. We'll get you liberated. You are our future.
Despite conflicts such as the Vietnam War, the Iran-Iraq War, and the second U.S. invasion of Iraq, the world has enjoyed relative peace and quiet for almost 80 years. While these and other conflicts may seem like anything but peaceful, the truth is that the long and almost unbroken chain of major wars between large powers was at last broken by the end of World War II. Yet as we swing into the new year, the likelihood of another world war only grows by the day. Here are the places that World War III could actually break out in the new year. Turkey. Turkey has been a steadfast ally of NATO for decades, and yet in recent years that commitment to the alliance has wavered significantly. Ongoing tensions between Greece and Turkey, both NATO members, have put severe strain on the alliance, with Turkey claiming islands in the Mediterranean which belong to Greece. While violence has so far been avoided, numerous airborne interceptions of Turkish fighters by the Greek Air Force have taken place, and just this last summer, the situation reached a boiling point. In defiance of Greek maritime claims, Turkey dispatched a small force of warships along with a survey vessel exploring for oil and gas reserves. As the survey ship was followed by both Greek and Turkish vessels, a collision between a Greek and Turkish ship nearly led to shots being fired. As the two nations continue to clash politically over massive oil and gas reserves of the island of Cyprus, a confrontation only grows more likely. For its part, the US, long the bulwark of the NATO alliance, has decided to remain silent on the issue, as President Trump decided the issue was best handled by the EU. So what could happen in the future to spark a world war? Turkey and the US's own relationship is already severely strained after Trump gave Turkey's Erdogan the green light to attack US-backed Kurds in one of the greatest betrayals in history. After massive backlash from the American public in the US Senate, Trump pulled an about-face and threatened to level massive sanctions against Turkey. This in turn drew threats from President Erdogan, who has publicly stated ambitions to possibly seize large stockpiles of American nuclear weapons currently stored at Incirlik Air Force Base inside of Turkey. Should Turkey make a move on the American weapons stored at Incirlik Air Force Base, it would completely overwhelm local American forces and get its hands on a sizable nuclear stockpile. The US would have no option but to respond with full military force. This could potentially lead to a splintering of NATO and possibly the end of the alliance itself. With President Trump giving the cold shoulder to Turkey, the nation is drawn much closer to Russia, and if Putin believes that the US may not have the backing of other European powers, could potentially join the conflict and kick the US out of Europe for good. Iran-Israel. Over the last several months, several Arab nations have formally announced diplomatic ties with Israel, a massive step forward for Middle East peace. Perhaps the most significant step forward, however, might have been the United Arab Emirates' normalization of ties with Israel. However, not every neighbor is growing chummy with Israel, and Iran has pushed back hard on recent developments. Currently, Iran continues to finance, train, and sometimes even directly lead anti-Israel militias and terrorist groups across the region, while Israel has been openly striking at Iranian military targets outside of Iran itself. While Israel slowly builds an anti-Iran coalition across the Middle East, Iran has responded by engaging with various terror groups and militias. Iran's increasing isolation only makes the country more dangerous. Should Iran decide it's in danger of being encircled by pro-Israel states, it might decide to strike preemptively either directly at Israel or at a neighbor such as Saudi Arabia. This would likely come as an unconventional attack using terrorist forces and serve as a warning that nations should continue to distance themselves from Israel or else. Israel might feel it has no choice but to respond or see its diplomatic efforts evaporate, leading to strikes inside Iran itself. With President Trump's ill-advised cancellation of the Iranian nuclear deal, the nation may once more pursue nuclear weapons. While the Iran nuclear deal made it nearly impossible for Iran to build nuclear weapons covertly, now the nation has much more breathing room to do so, and should Israel feel that Iran is nearing the bomb, it might be forced to attack first. This would doubtlessly lead to a catastrophic war which would threaten major parts of the world's oil supply, inevitably drawing both the US and Russia. Kashmir. Ever since the creation of the Indian and Pakistani states, the two have butted heads over the region known as Kashmir. Things only took a turn for the worse when China seized part of Kashmir during the Indo-Chinese Border War of 1962. To date, India and Pakistan have waged 3 wars over Kashmir, along with a variety of other issues that still sees the two countries holding on to very long-running grudges. In recent years, China has grown much closer to Pakistan, much to the chagrin of India, who, for its part, has chosen to develop closer ties to the United States. The situation has become a tinderbox that's ready to go up at any moment. And with both India and Pakistan having ties to the two most powerful nations in the world, a war between the two would indubitably pull in both China and the US. In 2020, it seemed war between China and India was all but inevitable. Starting in early summer 2020, China began a series of incremental crawls, pushing troops forward slowly to inevitably seize control of large swaths of territory. This led to fistfights between Indian and Chinese troops, with one at Pangong So causing 72 injuries on the Indian side and an unknown amount of the Chinese side. China then began to build helipads, pillboxes, and fortified bunkers while reinforcing their troops already present. In a bid to prevent an all-out escalation to war, both sides have agreed to only use firearms if fired on first. However, this has led to a bizarre throwback to medieval times as both sides now carry all manner of improvised weapons, such as clubs, rods, batons, and other melee weapons. On June 15th, a massive 600-man skirmish between both sides led to the deaths of 20 Indian soldiers and an unknown number of Chinese soldiers, though U.S. intelligence states that 35 Chinese soldiers were killed or seriously injured. The incident directly led to the removal of restrictions on the Indian side on the usage of firearms, and another such skirmish might now be met with lethal force, hopelessly escalating the fighting into all-out war. If India were to find itself in a fight with China, Pakistan would almost certainly see this as an opportunity to attack and India forced to fight a two-front war. Even without the intervention of the United States, which would surely back India, this would already be a conflict between 3 nuclear powers, with the outcome not looking good for the world. Korean Peninsula. Despite an optimistic 2 meetings between President Trump and Kim Jong-un, the historic talks between the two countries inevitably broke down over the issue of nuclear disarmament. For North Korea, disarmament is a non-starter, as the Kim regime believes nuclear weapons is the only way to guarantee the US does not oust it from power as it's done in other nations such as Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya. North Korea sees nuclear weapons as the only guarantor of its continued independence against the US and an international coalition of its allies. On a personal level, Kim Jong-un is himself dependent on nuclear weapons for his own political survival. After failing to deliver for years on a working nuclear weapon, the Kim family's hold on power was seriously threatened during the transition from Kim Jong-il to Kim Jong-un. What might have been a moment of temporary weakness, however, was turned into strength as Kim Jong-un immediately initiated a ruthless purging of senior military and political leadership that he saw as a threat to his power. Yet, despite his success in developing nuclear weapons, Kim Jong-un still faces a dicey political environment. As North Korea slowly grows and expands, many of the North Korean elite grow tired of the extreme financial burden international sanctions have placed on them. Incredibly, President Trump may have himself inadvertently helped Kim Jong-un remain in power, though. Despite the objection of every single advisor, the Department of Defense, and the most senior Democratic and Republican leadership, President Trump agreed to meet face-to-face with Kim Jong-un. What he may have seen as a potential diplomatic victory, however, only helped to cement Kim Jong-un's hold on power, as his ministers spun the event into state propaganda showing that at long last, Kim Jong-un had forced the world's only superpower to bend the knee and meet to discuss terms of peace. Now that the Kim family is sure to remain in power and yet refuses to dismantle its nuclear program, a confrontation between the US and North Korea grows ever more likely. Japan, who has for a long time been forced to suffer North Korean missile tests flying directly overhead, may force the US's hand if it decides North Korea presents an imminent threat and launches preemptive strikes against nuclear facilities and missile silos. A conflict between the US and North Korea would inevitably see China dragged into the mix to defend its longtime ally, as the one thing that China fears most is a unified Korean peninsula that's led by South Korea and very pro-US. This would be a strategic disaster for China and one that it cannot abide, leaving it no choice but to join a war against the US. Taiwan. Finally, we reach the most likely flashpoint for World War III. The issue of Taiwan has plagued Chinese-American relations for decades, but in recent years has escalated to a level reminiscent of the 1999 Taiwan Strait crisis. Shortly before taking office, President Trump received a call from Taiwan's president, Tsai Ing-wen, congratulating him on his election. This greatly angered China, which has threatened war should any nation formally recognize Taiwan as independent, and was seen as a major snub to the Chinese Communist Party. Historically, American presidents have not taken such congratulatory calls in order to not anger Beijing and potentially destabilize cross-strait relations between China and Taiwan. Things quickly escalated as Taiwan and the US negotiated a multi-billion-dollar arms sales deal that would see the Taiwanese military receive weapon systems and upgrades that would pose a significant threat to a Chinese invasion on the island. Tensions were heightened when, despite massive Chinese interference in its elections, Taiwan re-elected President Tsai Ing-wen, who holds a staunch anti-reunification agenda. Taiwan's support for pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong during the months-long riots only further embarrassed the Chinese mainland, as President Xi Jinping remained unable to enforce control over the region. Today, the U.S. is contemplating stationing American Marines in Taiwan on a rotational basis, along with port visits by the U.S. Navy. The U.S. also okayed the construction of a massive computer chip manufacturing plant in Arizona owned and operated by a Taiwanese firm, while simultaneously blocking Chinese company Huawei global access to critical chip manufacturing equipment. These actions have been seen as incredibly provocative by China, who even now is rushing to bolster its long-range attack capabilities with the goal of throwing the U.S. Navy out of the South Pacific. For President Xi Jinping, the Taiwan issue is one of personal and party survival. The Chinese Communist Party has for decades promised to reunify the breakaway island nation, and yet it has failed to do so. This signals to the world an inherent weakness in the Chinese nation, and China does not believe it can be taken seriously as a global power if it can't even bring a next-door neighbor to the fold again. For growing voices of dissent within Chinese politics, Taiwan's continued independence is a sign of the weakness within the CCP, and with his future hold on the nation on the line, President Xi Jinping might be forced at last to turn to the military option to reunify Taiwan. Inevitably, this would drag the US and its allies into all-out conflict with China. Next, check out why you wouldn't survive World War III, or click this other video instead, while you still can. You're jolted awake by the sound of blaring sirens, and a daze you look around the dimly lit room. Through the curtains comes a blood-red glow. You slowly walk toward the window and pull back the curtains. An intense light from outside is blinding. You bring your arm up to your face to shield your eyes. As you squint to bring the world into focus, you see something looming in the distance. A mushroom cloud the size of a mountain rises from the ground. It's finally happened. World War III has begun, and you most likely won't survive it. You run across the room and grab your cell phone. It's dead. The EMP blast from the nuke has wiped out all electronics and microchips in the surrounding area. You run to grab the survival kit you built based on one of your favorite infographic show videos. It has everything you need to survive a doomsday scenario. You take out the crank radio and you turn it. Over the static comes a crackling voice. The announcer confirms what you've been afraid of this whole time. The voice on the radio, it fades in and out. You can only make out pieces of the announcement, but it's clear what's happening. The world has broken out into all-out war. This is nothing like past world wars with soldiers, tanks, and planes. No, this war is all about nukes, cyber hackers, and space. The voice on the radio relays which cities have been hit. It started with Washington, D.C., then Hong Kong. Retaliation from the Chinese took out Los Angeles, then the nukes were launched at Moscow. The Middle East in its plumes of fiery oil and gas. Mainland Europe is at war with Britain. Almost every major city in the world has been hit. Billions of lives have been lost instantly. But what about you and the others who were lucky enough to survive the initial blasts? Could you survive World War III? Probably not, but let's see what might be in store for you. As you prepare to leave your house and seek shelter in more rural areas, you hear the radio announcer trying to determine how the carnage started. It seems that no one's quite sure who launched first or who the aggressor was. Before World War III broke out, there were some ominous conflicts brewing. You hear a shuffling of papers as the broadcaster organizes his notes. He, like everyone else left on Earth, is trying to make sense of what's happening. The announcer begins his rundown of what sparked World War III and the end of the world as you know it. This all could have been avoided if the United States and Iran maintained diplomatic relations instead of blowing up each other's military assets, he says. Or maybe it all started with North Korea threatening the United States over and over again. Then someone with a happy trigger finger launched the first nuke. My best guess, continues the broadcaster, was that China had finally caught up to the military strength of the US, and differences in ideology led to a conflict that may very well end up eradicating all of humanity. You grab your survival kit, thank you to the infographic show for helping you to prepare for a doomsday scenario, and you walk out of your house. Planes have fallen out of the sky and lay in fiery wrecks around your neighborhood. The EMP blasts from the nukes fried their controls and caused many to fall from the sky. You start walking down the street. You know the radiation from the nuclear explosion is enough to cause third-degree burns even if you're miles away. Not to mention even small doses of radiation can cause mutations in your DNA, which can lead to cancer and other diseases. Just by being within eyesight of the nuclear explosion of World War III means you might not survive. Then suddenly something enters the atmosphere causing a sonic boom. You look up and shield your eyes as a fireball careens toward the ground. The object smashes into your house, causing it to ignite in a fiery explosion. You run back to see what happened. Where your house once stood, there is now a large crater. On one of the metal shards that's sticking out of the earth, you see some writing. You kick the debris off to clear the dirt. The acronym NASA adorns the metal plate. The fireball that fell from the sky and destroyed your house was a satellite. This is a new type of warfare, you think, the warfare of space. You look up into the sky and see flashes of light beyond the atmosphere. World War III has gone beyond the terrestrial world and now includes the cosmos. Crewed rockets are launched to take control of the International Space Station. It's not a military asset per se, but it offers a strategic advantage. From the ISS, rockets and other spacecraft can be refueled. Satellites can be manipulated, and data using onboard sensors and cameras can be relayed to the military. World War III has now weaponized space. Outer space is not the only battleground that's not on the planet's surface. Hackers have turned cyberspace into a war zone as well. They've taken control of military assets on both sides of the war. These hackers might be working for the opposition or just for themselves. Either way, they've hacked into satellite guidance systems and military computers. And this war is not led just by the generals of the military, but by the tech geeks who command the world of code as well. World War III is a physical war and a cyber war. Since your coding skills are not up to par, you figure it's best to get away from populated areas and the technology that's associated with them. You never know when a hacker will take over one of the military's autonomous robots or drones and send it after you. There's no way I'm going to survive this, you think, as you head toward the city limits. As you run toward the tree line on the outskirts of town, you begin to cough. There's smoke coming out of the forest. What fresh hell is this, you think? You head for higher ground to survey the area that used to be a protected state park. You climb the ladder of a water tower and take out the binoculars from your survival kit. Where would I be without all the survival tips from the infographic show, you think? Probably already dead. From the water tower, you see that the forest is ablaze. Smoke pours out of the treetops and into the air. When the nuke went off, the residual heat ignited part of the forest, and now the uncontrollable blaze is burning away every tree in its path. This is all happening around the world. It's at this point you realize you are in big trouble. Yeah, you were in trouble before, but now you see what the future holds. Winter is coming, and it's not the Game of Thrones version. The winter that's coming for you is nuclear winter. There's no way you're gonna make it through this alive. The weapon of choice for World War III is the nuke. Unfortunately for all of humanity, nuclear explosions have long-term effects that are more widespread than just the initial explosion. You leave the urban area that was once home and head for the rural lands away from any major hub of civilization. You figure that the safest place to be during World War III is where there is little technology and even fewer people. You find an abandoned coal mine that's been drilled into a mountain. The thick rock walls provide you some protection from radiation and keeps you shielded from the natural elements. Your new cave home keeps you alive for a little while longer, but how much longer will you be able to survive with nuclear winter on the horizon? As you step out of your cave in the middle of the afternoon, the first thing you notice is that it's dark. The smoke, soot, and debris that's been flung up into the atmosphere by the nuclear explosions is suspended in the air. The superheated air around where the bombs went off forced particles from the surface to rise. The debris in the atmosphere has blocked out the sun. Earth's temperature has begun to cool. You're in the early stages of nuclear winter. In the days that follow the beginning of World War III, soot and smoke from the smoldering remains of cities enters the atmosphere. The nuclear blasts melt everything from plastics to metal and release harmful chemicals into the air. This not only began blocking out the sun, but vast amount of carcinogens and other chemicals are swept across the planet by wind. No one's safe from the nuclear fallout. Next came the firestorms. The cities where nuclear devices exploded are on fire. The surrounding towns are on fire. The forests are on fire. These fires never get a chance to burn out before the wind sweeps them across the planet. In the United States, the fires in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle are swept across the Great Plains, causing the entire Midwest to burn. In Russia, even with its freezing temperatures, the forests are ablaze. Anything that could catch fire did catch fire. No one's safe from the flames of the nuclear holocaust. And with those flames, smoke and dust rise into the atmosphere, ensuring that sunlight won't shine on Earth for weeks. And after weeks of no sunlight, it starts to snow. It isn't white snow like you played in as a child, but black snow. What falls from the sky is all the soot and debris from the fires that are burning the planet. The charred black snow covers the ground. At least the sun's back, you think? Unfortunately, it's too late. The lack of sunlight has caused the Earth's temperature to drop and nuclear winter to begin. You lived through nuclear bombs exploding, you lived through fires engulfing the planet, you lived through black snow falling from the sky, but now that nuclear winter has started, you most certainly won't live to see the return of summer. The days go by and World War III is slowed down, not because there's a clear victor, but because everyone is a loser. The human species has lost. You are one of the few remaining individuals of a now endangered species. After the black snow begins to fall, the temperature declines by 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Killer frosts and sub-freezing temperatures wipe out much of the remaining plant and animal life on Earth. You struggle to find anything to eat and unpolluted water to drink. You subsist entirely off of old army rations you found at an abandoned military base. Even in the extremely cold temperature, your body burns from the inside. There's no escaping the radiation that was ejected into the air from the hundreds of nuclear explosions. Like you, plants and animals around the world are suffering from burns and harmful mutations caused by the radiation. Evolution cannot keep up with the rapidly cooling planet and changing environments. Almost all life on Earth goes extinct. You sit in the mouth of your cave and look out at the once smoldering, now freezing world created by World War III. Some humans who reached fallout shelters will survive longer than you. It'll be years before all the soot and dust particles descend from the atmosphere. It will be decades before the radiation from nuclear fallout decreases to livable levels. It'll be centuries before life is able to bounce back from the devastation World War III has caused to this planet Earth. And it'll be millennia before the climate and ecosystems in heavily hit areas return to stability. You will not survive World War III. If you're able to make it through a nuclear attack without being incinerated in the initial blast, avoid being poisoned by the radioactive fallout, or getting killed by collateral damage, then you'll be one of the lucky few. But like most life on the planet, you'll not be able to survive the nuclear winter that follows World War III. There will be no winners in this type of war. On a positive note, life on Earth will eventually bounce back. Humans are currently messing up the planet in many ways, and someday we might be our own demise. But planet Earth will carry on. Thousands of years after the end of World War III, when nuclear winter has subsided and the climate patterns become stable under new norms, life will evolve to thrive in a post-human, post-World War III world. Who knows what life will be capable of after World War III eliminates all humans on the planet? It's too bad you won't be around to see it. If you're worried about how likely World War III is in the future, then check out our video, What Are the Chances of World War III? Or if you want to be even more prepared, watch How to Build a World War III Bomb Shelter.
In the name of my ancestors, peace forever and always, and welcome to another edition of the Reality's Temple on Earth Internet Ministry. Of course, I am the gatekeeper or the host of this particular program, known here on the internet as the mighty Angel Snub Nub 7. I am your brother, and hopefully your friend, Taalik Ibn'rad. I would like to spend the next few minutes, if you don't mind. It's always an honor that you would give me a little bit of your time. I'm so happy that you would find me worthy, and I very much appreciate it. I would like to present to us something so that we can use our brains, so we can have something to think about. And I want us to really think. And in order to bring into a new reality, we must plan for the future. We must think ahead of ourselves, not only of the present, but of the future. The title of this particular video, I would call it Nuclear War. Is it a necessary evil? Why would I say something like that? Why would I come up with a title? Let me just put this out here and we can talk about it after I give you my opinion. In religious teachings, and perhaps even outside of religious teachings, the prophets of God, and there are many people today who tell us and attempt to warn us about the end of the world. I would like to tell you that the end of the world has happened many times. Some of us believe that when we talk about the end of the world, we are talking about the end of the earth, of which is a possibility. because we live in a universe where you have meteorites moving. In fact, the earth itself is moving. And if the right piece of stone approached the earth, it could tear the planet in half if it hits the earth at the right speed. So when we talk about the end of the world, it is a great possibility that we could be talking about the end or the destruction of this planet. However, also when you talk about the end of the world, this is also in reference to the civilizations, the great cities, the great nations that human beings have built. So it does not necessarily mean the end of the earth. And during the time that the human being has been on this planet, many civilizations, many great nations have come and they've gone. And I'm very sure there were people who were living then that warned the people the end of the world. And the end of the world can happen due to war, when you are conquered by somebody else. It can happen due to famine, natural disaster. When Rome fell, life as they knew it, that was the end of the world. When Egypt was a great power, when it fell, that was the end of a world. In religious teachings, it talks about Babylon. But when Babylon fell or was destroyed, that was the end of the world. The end of the world is anything or any life that you are used to, and it comes to an abrupt end. The end of the world. If you work at McDonald's, and you work at McDonald's for years and years and years, and all of a sudden, McDonald's closes, that's the end of the world. The end of the world of McDonald's. That's the life that you knew. The end of the world is the end of the life that you knew. As long as there is sufficient resources, the human beings on this planet can thrive. As long as there are sufficient resources so that one may have shelter, clothe oneself, feed oneself, then a species or life can thrive. However, using an experiment that was done with mice, if you put mice in an environment, and in that environment there is plenty of space, there is plenty of food, then among the mice or the rat population, everybody is getting along. But when things start closing in, and mice begin to live up on one another, the space becomes overcrowded, then violence increases. There is fighting. And you see this right now on this planet. As the nation's populations become more abundant, there is a race and there is fighting over resources. The human population, unlike mice, mice have natural predators. And on this planet, most creatures have natural predators that keep their numbers in check, so that the environment, the resources, so that the resources can support that population. There is only one life form on this planet that does not have a natural predator. There is one life form on this planet who have learned how to fight disease, and that is the human being. But at the same time, with the population of the planet growing more and more, the resources are dwindling. And so now what you see is a fight for those resources. And as those resources dwindle, you will see more and more conflict. You will see more and more violence. Something has to give. I want to make this point to those of us who are black conscious, black nationalists, those of us who are we're just so pro-black, we want to go back to Africa, all this kind of thing. I want to tell you something very quickly. I want to give you a scenario. I want to give you a quick example. Let us just say that you and I, black people, we're able to go back to Africa. You go back to Africa, but yet and still, nothing, the reality does not change. This planet, the resources are dwindling. Fresh water is disappearing. Oil is disappearing. Gas, coal, all these fossil fuels that we are used to having that cause this population increase. More and more natural disasters are occurring, more droughts, more flooding. So that means less food. So even if you went back to Africa, you still have to face a dwindling resource. So now you are fighting the Caucasian people for your liberation. Now that you get your liberation, your resources are still going to dwindle. They're not going to last forever. So at one time, you love black. Black this, black power. But when resources begin to dwindle, people begin to look out for themselves because that's just the natural instinct. We are not going to starve together. People are going to begin to look at their tribes, their families. Somebody is going to have to do without. Somebody is going to have to perish. People begin to look out for their own. So when we talk about the doom of this planet, it's a possibility that what the prophets prophesied about, it could be nuclear war. And nuclear war would kill billions of people. Billions, when the bombs first drop, then many would die from radiation poisoning. But nuclear war, they claim, will destroy the human being. I really doubt it. But many would die. But then it would break the population back, the human population back down, where now the resources that's available can support the population. And the survivors of the nuclear holocaust, the survivors of the nuclear war, when you come up out of this situation, nobody won't care about black, nobody won't care about pink, nobody won't care about red, nobody won't care about racial color, you won't care about gender or class. In fact, the future babies that you have might mutate into something that don't even look human anymore. This is a possibility. I'm just putting something out here for us to begin with because we are obsessed with, I'm a black man, I'm a Caucasian. And really, all of humanity is under threat. This is a real situation, and it has nothing to do with race or gender or none of these things that y'all hollering and screaming about day in and day out. This is a threat to the human being. This is your reality. And you are on that path, and you're going to have to face this reality sooner or later. Just think about it. I just wanted to put that out there for us to think about. Jot down your comments as your brother, the Angel Snuffing Up 7. I know it's a lot to think about, and it's a lot to comprehend, but it's a reality, I'm telling you. Jot down your comments. This was and is the Reality's Temple on Earth. In the name of my ancestors, peace forever and always, and welcome to another edition of the Reality's Temple on Earth Internet Ministry. Of course, I am the gatekeeper of this particular program, known here on the internet as the mighty Angel Snuffing Up 7. I am your brother, and hopefully your friend, Taalik Ibn'rad. I would like to just spend a few minutes and present to us a topic of discussion that some of you probably think about. And I just would like to get your views, your opinions on this particular subject matter, because I find it disturbing. Now, there are many of us, especially in the so-called black community. In fact, it has become the norm that so many of our people, we are born from relationships that are void of religious ritual. We are born to unmarried parents. There are no vows taken or given to the other mate or spouse. And the children that comes from a union of people who are not married, the children are called bastards. The children are called illegal. Wow. That's deep to me. Illegal. Now, marriage is supposed to be required by God. And since these people did not obey God and participate in religious ritual, then the children they have are illegal. It's against the law, not the law of the land, but against God. Now, at the same time, I want you to listen to me. Your God also creates nature, and nature has law. And under the law of nature that your God created, when a sperm meets egg, the sperm and the egg coming together creates baby. That is the law of nature. In human beings, in animals, in fish, in any living creature on this planet, when a sperm meets an egg, unless you are a one-celled organism and you can clone yourself and split. It is necessary for sperm and egg to come together, and that is the law of nature. But religion overrides the law of nature and brings another law that says not only are you required to sleep together and bring sperm and egg together, but you must involve yourself in a ritual so that when the child is born, they are legal. Now, this is confusing because the law of nature dictates that what has happened is legal, but yet is still under the doctrine of men under various religions. They said the act, because you don't do it in the name of God, is illegal. But yet it's still the dog, the deer, plants, and other animals. Nobody is required to go through some type of ritual in order for their babies to be legal. But God is behind both laws. This is confusing. And so when the child or the children are born out of wedlock, you call these children illegal. Now, in America, the divorce rate in America is almost 90%. So the person or the people get married, but within the next 2 years or less, they get a divorce. The children are born in wedlock. The children are legal, but yet and still, their parents don't stay together. But you're not taking that into consideration. I guess as long as this wedlock thing happened during the time these children was giving birth, it doesn't make any sense, because what difference do it make if you married or unmarried if the only thing you're going to do is turn around and get divorced? What's special? What is special? What is the benefit for the child to be birthed under the ritual of marriage or wedlock? And the children that do not fall or who are born outside of wedlock, you call them a bastard. This is why I do not like religion. This is why all of us should reject religion. How are you going to turn around and call a child a bastard? A nasty, vile, profane, nasty name to a child. Well, you a bastard. How are you going to tell a child that? The child came into being through the law of nature. And that is legal. But as soon as somebody don't follow your religious ritual, now what was natural, what is legal, has become illegal. And you call a poor baby that have nothing to do with their circumstance, you turn around and tell them or call them a bastard. How could y'all tell a child that? And I've heard grown people, well, that's what you are. That's what you are. Religion makes us heartless, makes us have no compassion, makes us not use common sense or think. You're going to tell a baby, call a child a bastard. And even as a child, just hearing that name, you know something is bad about it. You illegal. What was illegal should have been the parents, not the child. The child is a victim. So how are you going to call a victim a nasty name? You should call the parent, who are fornicators, who may be adulterers, and they also are the bastard that put this child in this position. But what is wrong with this child coming to birth just because the parents did not fall within your religious system? This is some kind of arrogance. What makes the children that are born from parents that are married, what makes them special? I see children who are now adults born from parents that was married that fill the jails and the prisons. They are homosexuals. They are thieves. They are liars. They were born from people who was married under the Christian church, or however you're supposed to be married. A religious ritual, how is it supposed to give you some type of respect? How does it change the condition? What kind of benefit it is to the people who get married and to the child that they birth under this ritual, this marriage, under this wedlock? It's all a joke. And most of these people who get married, you are liars. You married for the wrong reasons. You are only married for a few minutes. And then you are in divorce court giving thousands and thousands and millions of dollars to lawyers to settle your divorces. And you split the children up. And you divide the children. This child has to determine, first of all, the child believes they might have something to do with the divorce. And then the child has to choose between mother and father. A child that was born out of wedlock, many of them don't have to go through all that madness that religious rituals produce. You want to get married, but you don't have the discipline. And you are a liar and a hypocrite. You don't have the discipline to be married. So the people that get married are weak. They are not honest. They don't have no discipline. Till death do us part, through sickness and health. And you divorce for, because my wife owes me $2, you will divorce her. He's not making enough money, so I will divorce him. All kinds of other silly stuff that you come up with. So how are you better? How do you have the nerve to call a child a bastard? What's so special about you and your marriage? What do you bring to the table? And above all, how can you be so, what is the word I'm looking for? How can you be so mean and evil spirit to a child? And you're going to call them illegal. And you're going to call them a bastard. How can you call a child a bastard? Then you turn around and get upset because Paula Dean called somebody a nigger. Or somebody called this person this name. And you run around calling children bastards. Y'all ain't no better. She's a racist. What are you? Calling little children babies bastards. Who are you? Y'all so arrogant and all filled with yourself. But see, that's what happens when your mind gets filled up with all this nonsense that religious teachings brings us. And these are your future. How you going to hurt a little baby's feelings? Be so nasty and violent, profane to a child, an innocent baby that has nothing to do with their coming into existence because they don't fall into the criteria you think they should fall into. I tell us, leave religion alone. Jot down your comment. Let's talk about it. This is your brother Taalik Ibn'rad. This was and is the Reality's Temple on Earth. In the name of my ancestors, peace forever and always, and welcome to another edition of the Reality's Temple on Earth Internet Ministry. Of course, I am the host, or the gatekeeper of this particular program, known here on the internet as the mighty Angel Snuff 7. I am your brother, and hopefully your friend, Taalik Ibn'rad. I would like just to spend a few minutes and give my opinion about this recent fiasco about this lady called Paula Deen. I don't know who Paula Deen is. I believe she's some type of Southern cook or whatever. But there has been a lot of talk about her in recent times about her making a racial slur in relation to the N-word. And before I continue, I would like for those who are offended, you're so self-righteous and holy, you're offended by the word, the N-word, then I suggest that you go somewhere else, because I am going to say the word nigger. And why shouldn't I say the word nigger? Nigger is a word that has been used in this country for over 400 years with pride. It's 400 years old, and you have never stopped. So since you never stopped, what is the uproar? What is the big deal? Because Paula Deen said the word nigger in a disposition, let's call it she was in court and she said the word nigger or whatever it was a few years ago. She did not say nigger in recent times. What difference does it really make? What I found living in America is that American people, y'all are the most fake, hypocritical, self-righteous, and arrogant things I have ever seen in my whole entire life. You run around here and claim you are the home of freedom, but yet and still this country has the most incarcerated people on the planet. You claim that you are a nation of peace, but as I speak, they are sending drones and soldiers all over the earth to kill people. And most times, now you have this strategy to kill people who you think might kill you. They've done nothing to you, but they might do something, so let me kill them because they might do something. This is dangerous thinking, because based on the way I might talk, these paranoid, mentally ill idiots, oh, he's a domestic terrorist, let's send a drone and drop a bomb on his house. This is your sick, demonic thinking, and y'all clapping, you're so patriotic. The word nigger has been used in this country for so long that a black woman named her child nigger. So when the child gets called nigger, that's the child's name. So there is no offense. The child said, well, my name is nigger. What do you want? This has been going on for 400 years. Paula Deen, and I am not her defense attorney, I am not her publicist, but Paula Deen grew up in a time where nigger was the norm. Like, so what? And the word has been used so much that it's difficult for people, once they begin to use the word, just like when y'all cuss, honey, I'm going to stop cussing. I need to stop saying MF this and the B word, but y'all never do, because it's hard, because You've been using it so long, and in fact, you really enjoy it. I cannot judge Paula Deen to say whether she really enjoys the word or not. But I know that after hundreds of years of using the nigger word, it's something, unless you really, really want to, it's something that is difficult to stop saying. In fact, the victims of the word, black people, the so-called Negro, the descendants of slaves born in America, we've heard that word so much, we call ourselves nigger. So if the black people of this country, if so many of us call ourselves nigger, what do you expect from Caucasian people who said the word nigger, that in fact created the word nigger? You have nigger in your movies. See, this is where the hypocrisy comes from. This is why y'all so fake. Why are you tripping on, why are you supposed to be so outraged over Paula Deen saying the nigger word 60 years ago or whatever it was, but yet it's still, you buy rap records. You buy the word nigger, and all these rappers, because they black, you think that gives you the approval to say nigger now. Who gave them approval? You allowed them. You own the record companies. You own the radio station. But Paula Deen can't say nigger. 60 years ago, when nigger was the norm, it was out in the open. So what? Y'all so fake. And then you must really think that we are so naive. And you must think that people are so stupid that you don't say the word nigger behind our back. All of y'all in interracial relationships, and you so lovey-dovey with Caucasian people. But as soon as your Caucasian or pink wife or husband, as soon as they get mad, the first thing they're going to say, nigger, because it's already there. It's already inside of them. When you get angry, the real you comes out. You can get me angry. I'm not going to call you all these different names because that's not what I'm about. I just tell the truth. But there is no malice. There is no hate. I'm letting you know the reality of things. You take it that way because you perfect. You don't want nobody to talk about you. You self-righteous and holy and mighty. Americans are some of the most fake, self-righteous, grandiose, arrogant people on this planet. Paranoid. You paranoid because y'all done so much evil to so many people. Now you terrorized to death. You don't like Paula Deen, and it's an outrage that Paula Deen says the word nigger. But you don't never tell your black citizens. You don't never tell these rappers. Where's the outrage? And you call women hoes and bitches. Where's the outrage? You actually buy and support calling people whores and bitches and niggas. Y'all so fake. Oh man, y'all so fake. Woo! Make me ashamed to be associated, to be called an American citizen. How can you be so outraged because of a word? Which we should be outraged when somebody is being disrespectful, when they are hate-filled, and so forth. But at the same time, I could care less about the word nigger when there are more issues that you should be outraged with. Black unemployment in this country, Mr. and Mrs. White America, Caucasian or pink America, however you want to view yourself. I'm just a human being, whatever you want to call yourself. Black unemployment is triple, quadruple the national average. If you want to be outraged about something, be outraged over that and help the people. But see, that don't cost you nothing. To be outraged because Paula Deen said the nigger word don't cost you nothing. You don't really have to really do anything. But in order to change these statistics on black unemployment mean you have to help black people, and y'all don't want to help black folks do nothing. My brother J.T. Riley 1 says there's only two people in this world, real and fake. You can talk all you want to. I don't judge you on your talk. I judge you on your actions. And your actions speak louder than your words. Where is your outrage? How many people was murdered and killed in Chicago last weekend or yesterday? Where is your outrage? But you outraged over the word nigger, something that Paula Dean said during segregation 60, 70 years ago, whatever. This is what makes y'all so fake. And you really think that you fooling somebody. You don't fool me. There's many out here who you don't fool. In religious teachings, in the scriptures, it says that as a man thinketh, so is he. And these black people, African Americans, whatever you want to call us, we've been called that for so long, now we justify ourselves to call ourselves nigger. And it's your fault. Because you buy the rap records. You endorse saying the word nigger. Now how you gonna turn around and get angry because Paula Dean said the word nigger? Y'all the most, woo! Man, these people so fake. Man, these people so fake. You fraud. You say you don't like the word nigger. But at the same time, according to your statistics, y'all love statistics. But according to your statistics offered to us by the government, black people are facing more discrimination in employment and housing and other facets of this society than we did during the time of Dr. Martin Luther King. But you cover it all up. You try to show these Negroes that's supposed to be doing good to distract from what black people really are suffering. Right there in Chicago and all over this country, you want to get upset over the word nigger. So you claim. Y'all so fake. All over this country, the cities are closing schools that are important to black people. Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage when you have black people who are a small percentage of the population of this nation, but over half the percentage in your jails and prisons and mental institutions? Where's your outrage? Why aren't you trying to find out why? Because you consider us niggas and you talk about us behind our back. You don't want nothing good for the niggas. And you want to pretend. You want to use Paula Dean as a scapegoat and put on this self-righteous facade. I ain't like Paula Dean. I ain't racist. I never said the N-word. We don't know what you said behind my back. That's the purpose of talking behind people's back so they don't hear it. You think Congress people not calling black people niggas? You think the mayors and these corporations, these white guys called pink people in these corporate positions, CEOs not calling black people niggas? You can fool some people, but you're not going to fool me and many others. In fact, you're not even going to fool many Caucasian people. Because we know what's up. Y'all so fake. So why don't you get off of that? You're not going to bring that here. And leave Paula Dean alone. And if you're really outraged, be outraged over some real things instead of this nonsense, because basically that's all that it is. With your fake self. I'm outraged because you think I'm a fool. Woo! Jot down your comments. Let's talk about it. This your brother, the Angel Snuffing Up 7. This was and is the Reality's Temple on Earth. In the name of my ancestors, peace forever and always, and welcome to another edition of the Reality's Temple on Earth Internet Ministry. Of course, I am the gatekeeper of this particular program, known here on the internet as the mighty Angel Snub 7. I am your brother, and hopefully your friend, Taalik Ibn'rad. I would like to talk just for a few minutes about the American black man and woman's relationship with Caucasian or pink people. From the romantic side, there really should be no side, especially romantic. Oh, there he goes again. He's against interracial relationships. No, not really. I'm not against people who really love one another. There are circumstances that has happened between the black man and woman in America and the Caucasian people of this nation that makes one question the credibility and the validity of such romantic connections. There's a lot of missing pieces. What kind of missing pieces are you talking about? We talking about love. You can't help who you love. That's one of the first things that you say, is that you can't help who you love. And that's a lie. Because if you couldn't help who you love, then the people that you fall in love with would have one eye, half a booty. The woman would have a full beard. She'll weigh 700 pounds. They will be retarded. Not making mockery that they're retarded. They will be retarded. You pick and choose. And you determine what you want. So if you determine what you want, how are you can't falling in love with somebody? Get out of here. That don't even make any sense to me. But you can say that to idiots. There is an imbalance in these romantic relationships. One of the things that I question is that as far as the black person involved in these interracial relationships, this romantic thing that y'all have with Caucasian people, even though you and I both know our ancestors would not approve of you laying up with the children of their oppressors. So you know, but you don't care. You just got this burning in your loins that you got to quit. I just got to be happy. I don't want to be lonely. So while you're not being lonely, so while you're trying to satisfy your own personal whatever you're looking for, you don't care about the fact that this nation and its children lynch your parents. They sick dogs on our ancestors. Some of them are still living. Well, some of them don't mind if some of our ancestors were stupid. That's the bottom line. Some of them were scared of the oppressor. Some of them think in a manner of insanity because they know they was dealing with a vicious people. And they suffer from what we call post-traumatic slave syndrome when we fall in love, when we defend our abuser. It is a real illness. And some of y'all definitely fit that profile, a victim, a sufferer of post-traumatic slave disorder. But I want to say this very quickly before my time runs out. I have about 9 minutes, so let me make this real quick. It's very funny that the black people we are involved in these interracial relationships because of love. So you get love and you get sex. Oh, you get plenty sex. You get plenty sodomy. Oral sex is not sex, it's sodomy. The only sex is intercourse between the vagina and the penis. Everything else that y'all do, that's what you call sodomy. Now it's very funny that the Caucasian people will give you plenty of sex. They might even give you a car. They might give you some trinkets, a little house. They might give you a multi-million-dollar basketball contract. Shouts out to LeBron James and the Miami Heat. You want an NBA title that does not mean anything, not even to Caucasians. It's no benefit to nobody except we won some basketball games. It definitely does not help the black community at all. You get plenty of sex, but you get no power. You get no wealth. They are always in control. When your Caucasian lover, if they have money, if you notice, even in these interracial relationships, or if black people are involved, well, of course, if black people are involved, but if they have money, the money does not come into the black community. The money always stays with the Caucasian people. You are never in control or make no laws that govern them. Oh, wait a minute there, buddy. You got President Obama, he's a black guy. He's the leader of the free world, including Caucasian pink people, as you say, fella. Barack Obama is a puppet for Caucasian people, surrounded by a Congress that's basically Caucasian or pink. The judicial system is Caucasian or pink. The media is Caucasian or pink. Barack Obama means nothing. He does not rule or control anything. That's why he cannot get anything done, because he has to listen to these Caucasian and pink people who don't want to do right, have never done right for 400 years, especially when it comes to black people. So they would give you plenty of sex, and they would give you some trinkets, but they will not give you any kind of power. They will not give you any kind of wealth. Being rich is not wealth. Wealth is a lot of assets. Wealth is an accumulation of material things that equal power, but you don't have no power. So you are in a relationship with a Caucasian person, but the Caucasian person comes from a people who are in power, while the lover, the black person who is the sex object, they are still coming from a people who are powerless, regardless if they have money or not. Your words and your opinions don't really mean anything. Talk is cheap, action speaks. You can see that in the world. If you try to debate or argue this point, then it's a losing battle, because we're living it. We see it every day. Then in my conclusion, the Caucasian people give us plenty of sex, sodomy. They give us trinkets. They might give you a hug and a pat on your backside. Some of them still pat you on the head like you're a dog. But you also never see them telling black people to embrace their African self. Learn what Africa is. You never hear them say that. The Caucasian man would never tell his wife, you need to study Africa. The Caucasian woman will never tell her black husband, study Africa. Learn how to love your black self. You can love me, but how can you love me if you don't love black? That's what you are. You are a black person. You are an African. You are a descendant of slaves. Learn your history. Love yourself. And they are not going to tell their spouse, their sodomy lover, their, unfortunately, and this is not disrespectful, but they are in the position of a pet. That's disrespectful. Well, I'm just sorry, because that's what it is. because a pet don't have any power. A pet has no say-so. And that's the position that these people in these interracial relationships have. They have no power. They just something to play with. And they're not going to tell you to love Africa. They're not going to tell you how to learn how to love your black self. Because if you learn how to love your black self, if you learn how to love this melanin that flows through your skin and throughout your body, then you will not love them. Anybody, even a black person, when you begin to love black, then even though black comes in many shades, black is light brown and what y'all call red bone, and black comes in all kinds of colors. But when you begin to love and learn how to love your black self, then that's what you want. So the red bone want her a black man. Because when those babies born, I want those babies to get some color. The light-skinned brothers and sisters, when they learn how to love black, they want to get blacker. They don't want to produce light no more. They want blacker. Light ain't cute no more. Even though we naturally can produce a lighter shade of black, they don't want it because you fall in love with black. And if Caucasian people really love black, a black woman, if a pink person really loves a black man or woman, they will also want their children to be black. They want their babies to learn how to love and know their African black self if they were true lovers. And when your Caucasian spouse, when they leave this world, then they will make sure all their assets, all their material things go to the black. All the interracial couples in this country, why doesn't the black community benefit from this if you don't have self-hatred? If the black people involved in interracial relationships, if you really cared, why don't we see this love in the black community? Because your wealth would show up in the black community. But you leave the black community, you leave your people, and go with your Caucasian lover, and you take your money with you. You take your skills with you. You take your talent with you. That's the reason why I have a problem with interracial relationships. You can love who you want to. But the bottom line, there's an imbalance, and there's a whole lot of it is fake. Because if black people learn how to love themselves, you would not want to love a people, or the child of a people that enslaved and terrorized your ancestors. It's impossible.